and welcome to Long Live the Queen, where we talk about the women who made history. And by we, I mean the royal we, because it's just me. Today we're going to talk about Bonne of Luxembourg. Bonne of Luxembourg was born in the year of our Lord 1315. At her birth, she was not named Bonne, she was named Gutta. Her father was King John of Bohemia, John the Blind, but he wasn't blind just yet. Her mother was Elizabeth of Bohemia. Gutta's birth was not a happy one because she was the second girl in a row, and the lack of boys was stressful on the royal couple. When Gutta was about a month old, she was betrothed to the future king, Casimir the Great, who at the time was 5-year-old Prince of Poland. When Gutta was about 1, and her older sister Margaret was about 3, their mother had their first son, Prince Charles of Bohemia. Thank goodness for a boy. They really wanted one. And this helped their parents' unhappy marriage a little. Just a little. It was still rough. This bride had 2 girls before having 1 boy, so she was not on the nice list. The rest of Gutta's childhood was filled with more siblings and more betrothals being broken for various reasons. Gutta's father John was an unpopular king of Bohemia. He was always gone. He preferred to be in Luxembourg or the French court in Paris. When Gutta was about 3, her father gained control of the Bohemian nobles again. They had been unhappy for quite some time, but he got it all together again. In 1319, when Gutta was about 4 years old, a plot was discovered to depose her father in favor of her 3-year-old brother. Gutta's mother was found to be involved in the plot against her husband. John was furious, and he took his 3 oldest children, Margaret, Gutta, and Charles, ages 6, 4, and 3, respectively, out of the queen's reach. He didn't want the queen to have any influence on the children. Eventually, Gutta was betrothed to John, Duke of Normandy, Dauphin, heir to the throne of France. When Gutta's brother Charles was about 7 years old, he was sent to France, and he never saw his mother again. King John was really mad. Gutta's mother decided to live in exile in Bavaria as she wasn't welcome in Luxembourg. But it turns out she was pregnant with twins. The king didn't support his wife or subsequent twin daughters in their exile. In 1325, when Gutta was about 10, Queen Elizabeth returned to court with one of her twin daughters, Anne. The other twin, Elizabeth, had already passed. Queen Elizabeth had returned to court ill, but she lived another 5 years. In 1330, when Gutta was 15, her mother Elizabeth died at the age of about 38 from tuberculosis. At the age of 17, Gutta married 14-year-old Dauphin John. The wedding was celebrated in front of its 6,000 guests. Does that seem like a bit much? This grand celebration lasted 2 months, concluding with Prince John being knighted at Notre Dame as the Duke of Normandy. Gutta's name then changed to the French version of Bonne, both names meaning good. We don't know much about the young royal couple's early marriage. John was not only young, but being the Duke of Normandy was a big job, with the vassal lords being just as loyal to England as they were to France. On the 21st of January, 1338, the young couple, now 22 and 18, had their first child. Prince Charles was born. After the birth of the little prince, Bonne was pregnant almost immediately and had another baby later that same year. A little girl they named Catherine, but she died not long after birth. And in July of 39, little Prince Louis was born. For anyone keeping track, that's 3 babies in 18 months. That's a very quick pace. And the next year, Bonne had another son, Prince Philip. Bonne was now 25-year-old mother of 4, 4-year-old Prince Charles, 2-year-old Prince Louis, 1-year-old Prince John, and newborn Prince Philip. It was around this time that her father became John the Blind of Bohemia, losing his sight, likely from a bacterial infection in his eye. Over the next 5 years, the 4 princes were joined by 5 sisters. It was about this time that Bonne's father died. Her father, John the Blind, died in battle. It was by all accounts nothing short of a death mission. He was blind, and he was losing the battle, and he said something in French that in English meant, "Far be it that the king of Bohemia should run away. Instead, take me to the place where the noise of the battle is the loudest. The Lord will be with us, nothing to fear. Just take good care of my son." 33-year-old Bonne was now the mother of 9 royal children: 10-year-old Charles, 8-year-old Louis, 7-year-old John, 6-year-old Philip, 5-year-old Joan, 4-year-old Marie, 3-year-old Agnes, 1-year-old Margaret, and baby Isabel. The royal children grew up with numerous royal cousins also at court. In 1349, 4-year-old Princess Agnes died. We don't know of what, but that same year, her mother, Princess Bonne, Duchess of Normandy, also died at the age of just 34. The princess died of the bubonic plague, so it was going around. Bonne died in September of 1349. Her husband almost immediately arranged a second marriage. He married 24-year-old Joan, who became the stepmother to the remaining 8 royal children. Bonne's daughter Margaret died at the age of just 5, 2 years after Bonne's death. Her remaining children grew up to be King Charles V of France, Louis, Duke of Anjou, John, Duke of Berry, Philip, Duke of Burgundy, Queen Joan of Navarre, Marie, Duchess of Bar, and Isabella, Countess of Vertou. 11 years after her death, her son Louis was sent to England to be an exchange hostage for his captured father at about the age of 21. He later escaped, to the disappointment of his father. His father felt dishonored and returned to England as hostage instead. He died there 4 years after being released the first time. Bonne's husband would become the King of France 1 year after the death of his wife. Upon the death of his father, King Philip VI of France. The king is dead, long live the king. Bonne's husband was now King John II of France. And that is where I'll leave it for now. What did you think of Bonne of Luxembourg? It was a short one, guys. It's easy to get during the plague years. We'll have a few short ones because they just don't live as long. She never became queen because the plague took her very young. You can share your thoughts with me at longlivethequeenpodcast@gmail.com or on Facebook or Instagram at longlivethequeenpodcast. Long live to all the queens out there, and until next time, bye.
You'll be remembered.
Thanks for listening.